My name is Tammy Alexander, and I'm a co-founder of Justice for Illinois Wrongfully Convicted and an advocate for Jamie Snow. In 2001, Jamie Snow was wrongfully convicted for the 1991 murder of a gas station attendant during an apparent armed robbery. This violent and senseless crime occurred in Bloomington, Illinois on Easter Sunday, 1991, as Jamie Snow ate Easter dinner with his family. This tragedy was compounded when, after several years, almost a decade, without a clear suspect, Jamie Snow was arrested and improperly charged by police and prosecutors willing to convict him by any means, even after he passed a polygraph exam in 1994. He is currently serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole in Stateville Correctional Center. There has never been any physical evidence tying Jamie Snow to this crime. Although there is blood, fingerprints, bullets, and even a hair, the state refuses to test the DNA. Jamie has spent the last 13 years in prison fighting to present new evidence demonstrating his innocence. His public defender presented little to no defense. His trial attorney has since been disbarred and went to prison for bilking an elderly client of over $200,000. Yet Jamie's conviction remains. With an overzealous prosecution and no proper defense, Jamie had little chance at trial. The prosecution relied on one star witness, primarily, who provided critical eyewitness identification. Yet this same witness identified two others in photo books the day after the crime, failed to pick him from an in-person lineup within 3 months of the crime, and even when presented with multiple photos of Jamie during the next 3 years, failed to pick him out. In fact, it wasn't until 1999, 8 years later, and after Jamie's arrest, that the star witness identified Jamie in a private meeting at the state's attorney's office shortly before trial. And this was from a picture of the original lineup. A picture of the original lineup that same witness had attended 3 months after the crime nearly a decade earlier and failed to identify him at that time. Approximately 4 years after Jamie's conviction, police radio tapes disclosed to Jamie that the star witness could not have seen what he testified to seeing. The first officer on the scene was watching the witness the entire time. He did not see him run into anyone, and he did not see anyone around him. It would have been impossible. The police officer was watching the star witness the entire time. He knew exactly what happened. Jamie has always maintained his innocence and continues to do so. Bloomington Police Department boasted of coming to a resolution in this cold case in annual reports submitted around the time of the arrest and trial. The state's attorney that tried Jamie went on to obtain a judgeship the following year. He has now been named a defendant in a lawsuit from wrongfully convicted Alan Beeman, whose case was overturned in 2008 because the same office, the same state's attorney, was deemed to have hidden evidence in his case. The detective that solved this cold case was found by a higher court to have worked with prosecutors from the same office to maliciously convict Eric Drew. In that case, the detective gave the star witness considerable favors in the form of cash and basically a get-out-of-jail-free card. According to Innocence Project statistics, 75% of wrongful convictions are based on misidentification. Yet the courts refuse to even consider testing physical evidence that could exonerate Jamie Snow, when this is the only evidence that they have against him. Anyone who has had this experience has a keen understanding that the state conviction rate is a priority over truth and justice. Members of Congress, I have never been in trouble in my life. I have worked closely with law enforcement and academia to fight cybercrime throughout my career. Sirs and madams, I have lost my faith in the justice system. You have the power to turn this around with the stroke of a pen. We need to implement legislation that will help negate some of these wrongful convictions. We need to rein in rogue judges and prosecutors. How would we do that? Well, we have steps. We can eliminate absolute immunity for prosecutors. That this only serves as a shield for prosecutors to commit criminal acts in a courtroom. We need mandatory referrals to the American Bar Association. Judges and prosecutors must be fully transparent regarding histories of misconduct. Elected officials, we have the right to know. No easy mechanism. Oh, I'm reading my notes, sorry. There's no easy mechanism to find the histories of judges and prosecutors and defense attorneys, even state actors that have been found to have been involved in misconduct. There's absolutely no way to look them up. We need a database of every single one of them so we can see exactly what their histories are when our cases come before their courts. We need to create a conviction integrity unit in every district attorney's office in the United States, an independent body with investigators and legal teams that can look at these cases and evaluate whether they were wrongful convictions, whether there is new evidence to be tested. There's also preventive measures that we can put in place. Certainly require an open file system in all 50 states. All case material should be available to all parties at the onset of a trial. That means defense attorneys and prosecutors should be able to see everything, instead of what is the current state, which prosecutors can only, they have to turn over whatever they think, might be, Brady material or whatever they think might be important. But we should turn that around. It should be the burden of the prosecution to petition the court to have non-relevant evidence precluded from a trial. That burden should be on the state. The state has full advantage over everyone. We should have mandatory testing of physical evidence when new technologies become available in these cold cases. We should be able to test the physical evidence. And finally, we should require videotaping of all police and attorney interrogations and interviews, period. There's no question on whether there was a false confession, or whether they fed, a witness or threatened a witness. That would just, wouldn't even have to worry about those issues anymore. It would certainly prevent wrongful convictions. So in closing, I'm asking you to make state actors accountable for their actions. People's lives depend on it. When someone is wrongfully convicted, their families and loved ones serve that sentence with them. It's never too late to do the right thing, and please help us do the right thing. Respectfully, Tammy Alexander.